Despite CNN's claim to be the most trusted name in news, many CNN-related videos regularly disappear from YouTube, replaced with this notice: "This video has been removed due to terms of use violation." In many instances, this could only mean that CNN had had the video removed because it didn't like the way it was being used or the comments which related to it. And in the matter of the serious business of informing the public about what is going on in our world, the phrase "terms of use violation" can only mean one thing: censorship. The censorship of fair comment on important issues. But to be fair, trusted people and organizations can make mistakes, even overlook the obvious, like the well-known fact that Israel already has about 200 nuclear weapons, while centering their criticisms on Iran's nuclear program, which Iran claims is peaceful, and which it seems to be conducting in full compliance with the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, which is monitored by the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, a treaty which Israel has been refusing to sign for over 40 years. So, if CNN wants to be even more trusted, it should allow those who disagree with the bias in some of its programs to have their say without preventing them from doing so by using censorship, euphemistically hiding under the cloak of a terms of use violation. One of the major problems with this kind of censorship is that news broadcasters like CNN rarely correct their own mistakes, so a statement often becomes a memorable headline before it is even checked for its accuracy. Here's an example. On September 25th, before even introducing his guest, a man who is the elected president of a large and influential nation, Mr. King led off with a declaration. "Tonight, President Obama slams Iran for building a second and secret nuclear facility. And, just in case, I will not even use the video clip of President Obama slamming Iran, just this still and his words. Iran is breaking rules that all nations must follow." Which in fact is not true, because India, Israel, Pakistan and North Korea did not sign the treaty in question, and Iran is not breaking the rules, as we shall see. Now we all know that Larry King must have a lot of backup for his program, so why didn't any of his researchers check to see if what President Obama said was accurate? For a start, they might have given Mohammed al-Baradei a call. What's more, on the same day that Larry King went ballistic, repeating President Obama's error, The Guardian UK published an article in which Scott Ritter pointed out that Obama was wrong, and he explained why. One cannot speak in absolute terms about Iran violating its obligations under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. So when Obama announced that Iran is breaking rules that all nations must follow, he is technically and legally wrong. Prime Minister Brown and President Sarkozy made similar statements, so obviously these three world leaders do not appear to have any people in their back rooms who could have set them straight about Iran's actual obligations. And you would have thought that these three Zionist stooges would have shown more restraint about Iran's nuclear plans because they know that Israel already possesses about 200 nuclear weapons that are ready to go. And they also know that Israel is not averse to using what a lot of people think of as weapons that are almost as horrific: white phosphorus, recently and illegally used against civilians in Gaza.
It is obvious that the Israelis are using white phosphorus. There's no other munition, nothing else on the battlefield that's going to look like that.
Israeli officials don't deny it, but add,
"We're very clear about that. We don't use any weapons whatsoever that are prohibited under international law."
That was an economy of the truth. Listen again.
"We're very clear about that. We don't use any weapons whatsoever that are prohibited under international law."
Quite obviously, Mr. Mark Regev didn't read the fine print about white phosphorus, so here it is. Under Protocol 3 of the 1980 Convention on Conventional Weapons, the use of white phosphorus is prohibited as an incendiary weapon against civilian populations. Its use is also prohibited in air attacks against military forces in civilian areas. And in case you didn't know this, Mr. Regev, the vast majority of the occupants of Gaza are civilians. Yet CNN's ongoing blitz on Iran overshadows by far their coverage of Israel's use of white phosphorus and its disregard for international condemnation and the many UN resolutions about the apartheid wall and the bulldozing of Palestinian homes to make way for new homes for Israelis and other acts of blatant discrimination. But I've never heard Larry King call any Israeli leader to task about these violations of legality, let alone human decency. And has Larry King ever talked to these people about their lives?
Weapons of mass destruction.
Weapons of mass destruction.
Weapons of mass death.
We have first-hand descriptions of biological weapons factories on wheels and on rails.
It concludes that Iraq has chemical and biological weapons, that Saddam has continued to produce them, that he has existing and active military plans for the use of chemical and biological weapons, which could be activated within 45 minutes, including against his own Shia population, and that he is actively trying to acquire nuclear weapons capability.
All of those statements were lies. Lies that led to the deaths of well over 1 million people. So can we be sure that the same process is not being repeated? I don't think so.
We are here to announce that yesterday in Vienna, the United States, the United Kingdom, and France presented detailed evidence to the IAEA demonstrating that the Islamic Republic of Iran has been building a covert uranium enrichment facility near Qom for several years. Earlier this week,
and here he should have added, before the United States, the United Kingdom and France presented its evidence,
the Iranian government presented a letter to the IAEA that made reference to a new enrichment facility years after they had started its construction.
Iran was not legally bound to inform anyone about commencing to build a new facility. It was only bound to give advance warning to the IAEA when a new facility was about to be utilized. Here are President Ahmadinejad's interpreted words as he explained the reality to Larry King. Now, every member state has 6 months before infusing the material for the enrichment process to begin to inform the agency of its facility. We informed the agency a year before the 6-month period was actually starting about the existence of the facility and its operations. So in fact, we exceeded our commitment to the agency based on the regulations. So how could the president of the most powerful nation on earth have been so badly briefed? Or was he knowingly misleading the international community?
The existence of this facility underscores Iran's continuing unwillingness to meet its obligations under UN Security Council resolutions and IAEA requirements.
Wrong again, Mr. President, but as former Weapons Inspector Scott Ritter points out in his Guardian article, more likely an attempt on the part of Iran to provide for strategic depth and survivability of its nuclear program in the face of repeated threats on the part of the US and Israel to bomb its nuclear infrastructure. The clear and present danger to the stability of the Middle East is Israel's possession of nuclear weapons and means of delivery. It is not Iran's nuclear ambitions, whether they are peaceful or aimed at the quite reasonable goal of protecting itself against Israel's threats. A nation which has already proved its total disregard for its fellow human beings by walling them into prison communities, bulldozing their homes, and dropping white phosphorus on them, from the very land and the air that they stole from them. So it really is time to stop listening to the lies of the International Bureau of Double Standards as parroted by the likes of the BBC, ABC, Fox, NBC, and the vast majority of the mainstream media, including CNN, whose slogan really should be, "The most trusted parrot in news."